A U.S. Navy nuclear ballistic missile submarine, part of our efforts to deter potential nuclear threats.
What do the United States' deadliest submarines look like beneath the ocean surface? These steel behemoths are longer than a skyscraper laid on its side and armed with weapons capable of annihilating entire continents. The Virginia-class submarines are the quietest.
This can lift up at any time.
This could lift up at any time on order if we wanted to launch the Tomahawk missile.
Some are elite hunters, while others carry the ultimate doomsday firepower. Most stealthy vessels the U.S. Navy has ever built. And now, a secret new design is emerging, one that could redefine naval warfare forever. Stay with us, you won't want to miss this. USS Virginia, the blueprint of modern submarines. The USS Virginia is far more than just a submarine. She's the trailblazer of the Virginia class, America's most advanced line of fast attack vessels. In Navy terms, a class means the first of a family, the blueprint that all her siblings follow. Later submarines in the class inherit the same hull design, reactor and core systems, but gain upgrades, smarter electronics, expanded weapons bays, and optimized layouts. Virginia is a steel predator, 377 feet long, 34 feet wide, and displacing nearly 7,800 tons underwater. Imagine a mid-rise office building flipped on its side and gliding silently beneath the waves. The Navy confirms she can dive deeper than 800 feet and exceed 25 knots. But beyond that, details are classified. What enemies cannot measure, they cannot counter. Her story begins in the 1990s. With the Cold War over, defense budgets were shrinking, and the Navy faced a challenge. The Seawolf-class submarines were deadly, but so expensive that only 3 were built. The solution had to be smarter, leaner, and still terrifying to rivals. Virginia was that answer. Construction was as innovative as the design. Instead of relying on a single shipyard, the Navy split the work between Electric Boat in Groton, Connecticut, and Newport News Shipbuilding in Virginia. Each yard built sections of the submarine, which were then exchanged and assembled. This approach not only controlled costs, but also allowed both yards to learn from each other, maintaining a skilled workforce and a production rhythm capable of delivering 2 submarines per year. Virginia herself moved quickly from concept to ocean. The contract was signed in 1998, her keel laid in 1999, and by August 2003, she slid into the Atlantic. Sponsored by Linda Johnson Robb, daughter of President Lyndon B. Johnson, she was officially commissioned on October 23, 2004. Remarkably, Virginia was the first U.S. submarine designed entirely on computers. Every cable, pipe, and bunk modeled digitally before any steel was cut. One of her most groundbreaking innovations isn't firepower, it's vision. Traditional submarines rely on periscopes, forcing the control room to sit directly beneath them. Virginia replaced this with photonics masts, telescoping camera stacks with day, night, and infrared sensors, streaming high-definition video onto massive wall-sized displays in the control room. The crew no longer peers through a soda straw tube. They operate with IMAX-like clarity. This also freed space for a smarter, more efficient layout. At its heart beats the S9G nuclear reactor, designed to last her entire 30-year service life without refueling. This powers turbines connected to a pump jet propulsion system, smoother, quieter, and far harder to detect than a conventional propeller. In the deep, silence isn't just an advantage, it's survival. Virginia's offensive capabilities are just as formidable. She has 4 21-inch torpedo tubes loaded with Mark 48 heavyweight torpedoes, wire-guided and continuously upgraded with new software for ever-increasing lethality. Flexibility is built into her DNA. She also carries 12 vertical launch tubes in her bow for Tomahawk cruise missiles, each capable of hitting distant targets with pinpoint precision. Later boats in the class shifted to 2 larger tubes carrying 6 missiles each, but Virginia proved her dozen could deliver rapid, powerful strikes. Virginia is more than a submarine. She's the blueprint for a new era of undersea warfare, a lethal, silent predator designed to adapt, strike, and dominate beneath the waves.
USS Virginia and the legacy of stealth. Stealth is her greatest weapon. Every inch of USS Virginia is engineered to vanish into the ocean. Her hull is wrapped in sound-dampening tiles, and every piece of machinery is carefully mounted to prevent vibrations from leaking into the water. The result? A submarine that blends seamlessly into the ocean's natural background noise. Early Virginia-class boats carried a massive spherical sonar array in the bow, but later submarines upgraded to the large aperture Bose sonar, a horseshoe-shaped, water-backed array that's sharper, easier to maintain, and more cost-effective. This rolling system of incremental upgrades, introducing new hardware every few years instead of waiting decades for a redesign, began with Virginia. Virginia also plays a role that rarely makes headlines. She's a secret taxi for special operations. Her torpedo room can be reconfigured into bunks for a platoon of elite divers, and she carries a large lockout chamber that allows underwater entry and exit without surfacing. In recent years, the Navy has even tested unmanned undersea vehicles launched and recovered through her torpedo tubes. One moment perfectly captured her capability came in 2008. During operational testing, she fired 3 Tomahawks, 2 from her vertical launchers and 1 from a torpedo tube. Quiet, almost routine, it proved Virginia could do the 2 hardest things at once. Life on board is a careful balancing act. About 130 sailors run a machine that's part nuclear reactor, part weapons factory, part stealth lab. Space is tight, but compared to older submarines, Virginia feels surprisingly roomy. She maintains a steady rhythm. 6 months deployed, 6 months home, supporting national strategy in theaters like Europe, then returning to New London for modest pure applause. Virginia didn't appear out of nowhere. Her roots trace back to the Cold War's most famous predator, USS Los Angeles. The lead boat of the Los Angeles class, SSN 688, was the first in a family that would dominate the Navy's fast attack fleet for decades. At 362 feet long and 33 feet wide, she displaced nearly 6,900 tons, yet could move through the Pacific with unnerving silence. Officially, the Navy said she could dive beyond 650 feet and exceed 25 knots, but the truth, classified then and now, was even more formidable. Los Angeles was born of Cold War urgency. Her contract was signed in the early 1970s, her keel laid at Newport News in January 1972, launched in April 1974, and commissioned on November 13, 1976. Costing roughly $900 million at the time, nearly $1.9 billion today, she was a staggering investment. Barely months into service, she made history. On May 27, 1977, President Jimmy Carter, himself a former submariner, sailed with her alongside Admiral Hyman Rickover, the father of the nuclear navy. Beneath her steel skin beat the S-6G pressurized water nuclear reactor, providing near limitless endurance. While diesel submarines worried about fuel, Los Angeles could stay submerged for months, limited only by food and crew stamina. Her weapon suite matched her stealth, 4 21-inch torpedo tubes from Mark 48 torpedoes with the ability to fire Tomahawk cruise missiles. Later flights added vertical launch cells, but even the lead boat could strike land and sea targets with devastating effect. It wasn't just her hardware, it was where she went that defined her. From Mediterranean deployments to NATO exercises, USS Los Angeles carved a path for future submarines, proving that true power lies in the combination of stealth, endurance, and strategic reach. Virginia inherited that legacy and elevated it, setting the standard for modern undersea warfare.
By the late 1970s and through the 1980s, she was deep in Westpac deployments, slipping into the Western Pacific for missions still buried in classified logbooks. The pace never slowed. Patrols at sea, upkeep in Subic Bay or Guam, a brief stop in Hong Kong, then right back into the dark. Sailors joked that she was a travel machine, but in truth, Los Angeles was a ghost factory, producing presence without ever announcing herself. What made her more than a single breakthrough design was evolution. She became the blueprint for a dynasty. 62 submarines built over nearly 25 years. The class eventually split into 3 flights. Early boats looked just like the original, with a spherical bow sonar and 4 torpedo tubes. The mid-generation added vertical launch cells. The final 23, the 688 I-boats, were quieter, stronger under the ice, and equipped with far more advanced combat systems. This steady cycle of upgrades kept the Los Angeles class relevant long after its expected lifespan and turned it into the backbone of America's fast attack fleet. Inside, life aboard was all business. Before photonics masts and touchscreen displays, crews worked with periscopes, analog consoles, and relentless teamwork. Sonar operators strained to pull a single faint note out of the ocean's static. Navigators threaded black water, using nothing but charts, calculations, and instinct. It was cramped, hot, and efficient. On a submarine, every task mattered because mistakes couldn't be undone. Even her name broke tradition. U.S. submarines had long been named after fish, but the Los Angeles class took on the names of American cities. It brought parades, sponsors, and hometown pride, linking communities directly to the silent defenders beneath the waves. But the fragments we do know hint at a career stretching from Cold War cat and mouse hunts to post-9/11 missions. She trained crews, pushed the limits of the design, and shifted effortlessly from tracking Soviet submarines to land attack missions, intelligence gathering, and supporting special operations. She did it all for more than 30 years, a long time to stay sharp in a world changing by the minute. She also carried traditions. In 2007, as the oldest attack submarine in the Pacific, Los Angeles took it to sea, and when her time came, passed it on to USS Bremerton, a small wooden board, but heavy with decades of pride. By 2010, her journey was ending. The Navy held a farewell ceremony at Pearl Harbor, then sent her to Puget Sound for inactivation. She made one final visit to her namesake city before entering the meticulous process of shutting down a nuclear submarine, defueling, dismantling, recycling. She was officially decommissioned in February 2011. By the next year, she was gone, her steel melted down for civilian use. Yet even a predator as iconic as Los Angeles pales next to the submarine now rising to take America's nuclear deterrent into the next century. USS District of Columbia, the first of the new Columbia-class ballistic missile submarines. Imagine a steel ghost half the height of the Empire State Building, sliding from the pier and disappearing beneath the waves without a ripple. She isn't built for headlines or duels. She's built to vanish. And in that silence lies the power to end civilization. That's the point. As long as she exists, no rival will dare strike first. She's enormous, about 560 feet long, 43 feet wide, and displacing more than 20,000 tons submerged, bigger even the Ohio class she replaces. The price tag reflects it, around $18.1 billion for the lead boat, with each following submarine averaging $11.4 billion. When she sails, she'll be the largest submarine the United States has ever built. She carries fewer launch tubes than the Ohio, 16 instead of 24. But don't let that fool you. Every inch of the Columbia class is optimized. Every tube paired with next-generation electronics, sonar, and propulsion systems built from the ground up for silence. Columbia isn't about carrying more. It's about carrying smarter. At her heart is the S-1B reactor, designed to power the submarine for her entire 40-plus year service life, without a midlife refueling. That power feeds the Navy's first integrated electric drive on a ballistic missile submarine. No more massive reduction gears. Instead, steam, 2 turbines, to electricity, to a giant motor spinning a quiet pump jet. Fewer moving parts, less noise, less to break. Then there's the missile deck. 16 launch tubes the size of small silos, arranged in modular quad packs. The United States and the United Kingdom will share this exact missile compartment design for the first time in modern naval history. Each tube carries a Trident 2D5 missile, the backbone of America's sea-based nuclear force, soon to be upgraded to the D5LE2, a modernization that keeps the weapon relevant into the 2080s. Guidance, electronics, and hardened systems all redesigned so that as long as Columbia sails, her strike capability. Outside of that mission, her weapons stay simple, 21-inch torpedo tubes for Mark 48s, reserved for emergencies. Her stealth extends beyond propulsion or missiles. In her bow sits a massive, large-aperture sonar array, evolved from Virginia's but even larger, built not to shout, but to listen.